Good morning, guys. I wanted to share some information, practical information, regarding the coverage in the text on chapters 14, 15, and 16. Uh, Overall, what we're discussing here are relationships, building long-term relationships with our clients, uh, keeping our personal relationship with our business, how we manage our business, that is a relationship, and how we manage our relationship with other individuals as possibly a manager, a supervisor. One of the first things I would like you all to consider, and this is somewhat holistic in its coverage, but remember that old saying, treat others as you would treat yourself. When it comes to building partnerships in business, in sales, it's important to remember that we're not dealing here with with something that is intangible. We are dealing with tangibles in terms of the customer, the client. In other words, these are individuals much like ourselves who wish to be not only treated fairly, but in a caring fashion. Let me give you an example. In the past, I had a lengthy period of time where I sold cars and was very successful at it. I used to take a lot of ribbing, joking, from some of the other salesmen because they would always reference the individual stopping on the lot with terms like customer, sometimes a visitor, a client, and none of those of which are derogatory by any stretch of the imagination. But I always referenced the individuals that I helped as my families. Now, I know the distinction between the verbiage used is not all that great, but it was surprising to me how the other sales people thought that that was in some way a little odd or out of the ordinary. But the key to this is that I considered everyone who stopped on that lot to be what they truly were, a family, a, a group of individuals that make up a family unit. And as such, that made my frame of mind as I served them more in tune with their needs. Not mine, not in terms of what I wanted to sell them, not in terms of how much commission there may be on this vehicle or that, but on what that family's needs were. Now, this isn't limited to just families where the husband and wife and kids. I looked at an individual who was coming on the lot to purchase, a pickup or whatever, as one of my families. That frame of mind served me very well because what it allowed me to do was make sure that I treated them the same way that I would want to be treated. Now, one of the side benefits of this is that when you deal with individuals in this fashion, you build long-term relationships. You have individuals who come back. The idea of, and this has nothing to do with any dealerships I'm familiar with, but the idea of trying to make as much money as you possibly can off of one customer and never seeing them again, but if you can see enough customers and treat them that way, you'll do fine. That, to me, isn't, good business. To me, the concept of repeat business, building relationships with your clientele, that is the secret to not only being successful at sales, but also being successful at your mission in terms of serving others. Sales is a wonderful, wonderful profession. Granted, you can make a lot of money in sales, but not at the expense of others. You need to keep their best interests at heart, and if you do so, not only will you be true to them, but you'll be true to yourselves. The next thing I wanted to talk about was this concept of accountability. We are accountable to the companies that we work for, but we are also accountable to ourselves. And this is where we get into the concept of time management. An individual, and I'm going to give you a very a simple concept here. Let's say an individual in sales begins to keep records, and those records show that for every, and we'll just make this very simple, for every 10 cold calls, in other words, attempts to contact an individual that would be interested in speaking with them, that for every 10 cold calls, he is able to get one person who is willing to speak. In other words, now he has an appointment. And that individual then keeps good records and discovers that for every 10 appointments, he makes one sale. Well, if all he does each week is makes 10 cold calls and generates one sale, or generates one appointment rather, but that's all he does, the likelihood of making any commission or making a sale that week is mighty small. So if an individual were to make 100 and document it, keep track, 100 contacts, which generated then 10 appointments, based on the numbers, that individual could guarantee themselves one sale. Now, that's extremely broad. It's just using, multiples of 10 to demonstrate the concept. But if you do not keep an accountability of your own actions while you are working at sales, you'll never know what it is you have to do to generate the number of sales or the income that you wish to make. It's a very simple process. It's just a matter of documentation, check mark here, a check mark there. But I guarantee it does work, and it does keep you accountable to yourself. The last thing to mention here is your accountability to others if you move into a position where you are managing. Again, this is simple. It really is. You are now responsible for the success or failure of those individuals. If you are unable to provide them the tools that they need, the training that they need, you are failing them and ultimately yourself. There is a saying, that good salesmen aren't born, they're made. And then some people will say, well, no, good salesmen are born. You can't make them. I say that both are possible. But the key is, without the proper tools, without the proper training, no one's going to be successful in sales. And as a manager, that is your responsibility. You are accountable for their success, just as you were for your own. So those are just some practical things I wanted to share with you. Please feel free. You can go ahead and post any comments that you would like in the discussion section on the website. And in the meantime, please, everyone, continue, knock on wood, take care of yourselves and stay safe. Thanks. Bye.